Welcome back to Wife of the Party. Okay, I have two friends. I'd call them good friends. Two good friends that live in our neighborhood who have long COVID. And they've been lucky enough to have each other through this process. But it's not been an easy one. And I asked if they would be willing to come on and talk about their process with long COVID because it sounds terrible. And I thought there's got to be people listening who either have long COVID or have a family member who has it. And maybe it's good to hear other people talk about something that you or someone you love might be going through too. So Jennifer, and Paula have come on today to talk about their experience with long COVID. It was a great conversation. I tried to keep it short so that they didn't get super tired because chronic fatigue is part of their long COVID experience, and I just didn't want it to be hard for them. So anyway, I learned a lot on this episode. I hope that you learn a lot too. If you know someone who is suffering from long COVID, maybe share this with them. Maybe it would help them feel not so alone. Or maybe they could take some of the things that helped Paula and Jen make it through here and apply that to their own lives. Just so you know, Jen's husband is also named Bert. So if you hear her talking about Bert, she's talking about her Bert, not my Bert. We share Berts, but don't share Berts. We both have a Bert. Thank you for your emails. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for coming back every week. Thank you so much for all your support. And I love my podcast and I really enjoy doing it. And I'm glad that you enjoy it as well. So I hope you enjoy also this episode with Jen and Paula talking about long COVID. So what do you think about this year, Paula?
Love it.
You do? I think it's too long.
It's big.
It's too big. But it's going to make me crazy, but I can't get rid of it.
Where did you get it?
What are we going to do?
A special piece, or
what are we going to do?
The lady that we bought this house from left it, and it was a full height table, and it's like 6 feet long.
Yeah.
And so I just can't find anywhere to put it. So I had it cut down to a coffee table for my living room, and I was like, it doesn't work. But I can't really admit that it doesn't work. And then Paula came and was like, it doesn't work. And I was like, oh, part of me super relieved and part of me super bummed. Yeah. Because I was like, maybe it's just me. Maybe I just don't have that eye. Maybe I'm just not seeing it right. And it just doesn't work here either. It's too big.
It's too big.
It's too big.
Takes up the whole room.
And it takes up the whole room. So the odyssey of the gifted table is the gift that keeps on giving.
It's a gift you can't find a place for it.
Exactly. Did Addie have fun?
She had so much fun.
She did.
She really had so much fun. And then after listening to your podcast on it, like there were more stories.
Oh,
so then I was like, oh, and I heard about this. And she's like, oh yeah, she just starts laughing and going like right into more stories again. And I mean, so it's the gift that keeps on giving all summer.
We are kind of hoping that they want to go back.
Yeah.
Because it was so fun. Yeah. They had so much fun.
Yeah.
So we took our whole troop, to my dad's lake house. My dad had so much fun. So the Lake Wedowee magazine was supposed to come and interview the girls, and the reporter got COVID while we were there. I think that's what happened. She couldn't come for some reason. So she has been texting my dad, please get me blurbs from them. Please send me pictures from them. Please, I need to write this. So I was texting back and forth through yesterday. We finally connected. I sent her everything Monday, but I had her email wrong. So she was like, where's the stuff? And so yesterday we finally connected. And she was like, this is going to be the feature piece in the magazine. Aww. And I need your address so I can send all your girls a copy.
Oh my God, they're going to be thrilled. That is so sweet. What an experience. I mean, like
what an experience.
Yeah. It was so fun. We had, I think in some ways, we had more fun than they did. Just watching them. I get so much joy from watching every one of these girls every time we go camping. Yeah. I come home and go, that was a gift for me. Uh-huh. I'm glad you had fun, but that was actually for me.
Totally. I mean, when you're seeing all the kids happy and like just enjoying something that means so much, like I do. I think we do get more enjoyment out of it sometimes than them. But no, I think they had just as much fun. They really did.
They did. And Kathy and I and Kirsten all decided when they moved when the older girls moved from 5th grade to 6th grade, that we were going to make this space safe for everybody. Like no BS allowed, no catty, no mean girl, no separating.
Was that hard to do?
No, it wasn't because we have a lot of good girls. But
and it's
we
a
were
testament to you guys too.
we were very conscious of like when we go camping, we would separate cliques and go, no, you'll spend all day together anyway.
Yeah.
So we're not going to separate you when you're in your activities.
Right.
But when you go to bed, you need to go to bed with people that you wouldn't normally hang out with. And that's how you get to know each other.
Right.
And that's how all of a sudden now Isla is really close to Paige Connery, who she never knew. And, you know, all these girls are making what we kept watching in Wedowie, where people were hanging out so fluidly that there were no cliques. There were no clique. I mean, they just, who wants to go kayaking? And just whoever did went. It was really awesome. So we definitely decided that's what this group would be. Right. That fluid, everybody's okay with everybody. And I'm so proud of them that we didn't tell them that.
Yeah, right.
They just did that. They just went on with it, you know, naturally. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you never know how a 5-day trip in rural Alabama with no internet, no cell service. Yeah. You never know how that's going to go.
No, everything. But no, I know not as smooth for some of the things for you guys, but they didn't feel any of that. They just had fun every step of the way.
That's good.
Yeah.
Now, did she talk to you about the smut?
No.
She didn't talk to you about the smut?
No.
Did you not hear about the smut on our podcast?
I've still got no, I'm like,
Paula.
I probably have 10 minutes left. It's got to be towards the end that you talk about it.
It must be. Oh my God. So in the middle
I'm just past the hair extensions. And that's
how
where
funny was
where, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Someone jumped off a dock and they had hair extensions in and they were floating in the water. And we were like, is that a muskrat?
No.
What is that? And it was Vivian's hair extensions. Anyway, this little town has a little like library in the middle, a free library, kind of like what we have on the curb, except it's a little bitty building, like a 6-foot by 6-foot building. And the girls went in there and got all these books. And we're like, that's awesome. They're going to read. They got all romance novels, like The Duke Goes Down, and like, you know.
No, she's not talking about
They all got smut. And so they would stay up at night in one person's room and take turns reading the smut aloud. And then they'd be floating in the water talking about it like this. And we were like, what is happening in this room at night? And we didn't go in the little library. We were thought it was just like what happens here. You know, you put the James Patterson novel in there.
Yeah.
I went in there after the Girl Scouts left. It's like 80% smut. It's like 80% romance novel.
Fun.
And I heard later that a lot of smut was smuggled home. A lot of people were putting like 4 or 5 books in their suitcase.
But where else and under what other circumstance would you want to experience that?
Yeah.
They'll be telling their kids, well, I was not, you know.
No, totally. Like the summer that we did this. Yeah, no. And what a safe space for them to do it.
And with each other out loud, they were hooting and howling.
That's hilarious. Oh, I
and
can't
someone,
wait to ask.
Addie fell off the bed. We were just, she fell off the bed. We were like, what is going on up there? Are they sacrificing a chicken? What's happening? They're having so much fun. And we found out that, and we were like, oh my God, the parents are going to kill us. But the ship had sailed by the time we figured it out. And I was like, what are we going to do now? Make it taboo or wrong? They're clearly handling this age appropriately and with each other. And it was hysterical.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Anyway.
Oh, I can't wait to ask that one.
Ask her about the smut.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, this is not why I asked you guys to be here, but
so much fun.
So, COVID hasn't been fun for you guys, in particular.
No, COVID. Well, like when you just said that's why the reporter could not come interview them. I'm like, just goes like COVID is just that awful gift that keeps on giving. It's just a constant thing that just causes problems in everyone's life. But yeah, long COVID has certainly not been fun.
So you both have long COVID. Now, were you like diagnosed or did you just go, these symptoms are not leaving? Tell me the circumstances, if you don't mind, whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah.
I'll share anything, but you're so much more articulate than me. So why don't you start? I really
don't think that.
And I'll just nod my head for the listeners at home.
We all know that is not true.
Yeah, exactly. No. I think it never really stopped. So it was just like, first getting the diagnosis, going through the whole frustrating of, I know I have it, but the test is negative, going through that. We were so uber careful with, because I just was afraid of what the situation. My husband also has asthma. So like, I just thought, we just don't want to get it. So we were super careful testing before we did anything. We get together with the family for New Year's. We all test negative. And then one member had 2 days later came a positive, then we were. So we kind of went down. So it was just from day one of frustrating of, we know we have it, can't get that positive test, need the positive PCR to get some of the medicine. But then did, and just went from, a rougher case of COVID. And I was triple vaxxed. So thank goodness for good medicine, but 2 rounds of bronchitis, pneumonia.
Oh my gosh.
Fluid on the heart, air pockets in the lungs. One of those situations of, I'm sure, I think I personally think for both of us, like if this was earlier on in the pandemic, this was January. So earlier on in the pandemic would have been one of those crazy ones in the hospital because we wouldn't have had the vaccine.
Right.
So I do really think that like that still helped us, because as bad as it was, like I know it could have been so much worse.
Right.
Thinking that through this whole process is, I think, carried me through.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Knowing it could have been so much.
Yes, we would have been one of those people.
Yeah. Like how did they end up there?
So go ahead.
When you were saying, is it something that you get diagnosed with? It's really been such an interesting experience where you have something you're never diagnosed with it because these doctors don't know anything. So they don't even know to diagnose you. It's almost like we've diagnosed ourselves along with people at CNN that say this new thing about, I got it. Grady had gotten it at school, brought it home, and can you edit that out so my son doesn't know that it's out in the universe that he caused this?
Yes.
I'm kidding.
No,
I'm kidding.
he'll take it out.
I'm kidding. So I got it in January, and I got it, and my nails turned bright yellow.
What?
Oh.
Bright yellow. And there's something called COVID toenails. My toenails were fine, but my nails were like a fluorescent yellow.
Oh, that's crazy.
Why? Is it a lack of oxygen or something?
Evidently.
It must be. Circulation, something.
Yeah. So then I lost my taste and smell, and I was out of it for a couple of days, and then I got better. And this is evidently very common with the long COVID story. Then you get better for a week, and then you get hit. And
hit with what? Like still congestion or?
It is.
It just hits you.
It's an active. I describe it as an active exhaustion. And I'm not really sure what that means, but that's what it felt like. It wasn't just you're tired. It is a painful. I would fall asleep in the middle of conversations. I really, to like move my hand from there to just a few inches over was like, that was a lot of work.
Right.
It was unfathomable, really.
Yeah. I think because I had to get back to work, like there was that a little bit of that pressure of how many days you were given and needing something. So I started to feel better, and you think it's like just like it's a cold. You're getting better, so you're starting to do better. I don't think I knew I wasn't ever 100%, but thought like, okay, I'm no longer positive. It's took like 14 days to not be positive. A week after that, tried to go back to work, thinking, okay, this is just going to be like, you're going to be tired, but you're getting better. And it was the third day of being at work that I knew that morning I probably should never have driven to work. Like I felt really bad. It hit you. Like it was everything from being really tired to every symptom that I had was just on heightened alert. Stomach issues, headaches, weakness, the pains, and being at work just completely going pale and not being able to really stand. Like it hit you. And then it was downhill for a long time. But yeah, you have a little bit of getting better. And then probably part of it is maybe not having done maybe just staying on the track of not doing anything and taking it easy for longer wouldn't have hit as hard. I don't know. But
because I'm such a doer, I've had to learn that. And it's been very frustrating for me. And I've done a lot of reading on post-exertion exhaustion. And like, I can even feel it now where this morning I ran an errand and then came home and was talking a lot. And then did something. I was running behind coming to pick you up, Jen. And then we got here and then I sit here and like, there's my hiccup of breath. And I'm kind of melting into the couch now. And but an hour ago, you wouldn't have thought there was any problem. But now it hits. It's so strange.
That's so funny. When you sat down, I thought, Paula's tired.
Yeah.
We should have rescheduled.
Oh, heck
That's
no.
what, no. That is what I thought, because the most important thing is your health.
Oh.
We can't do without you.
Right.
So
I got to tell you, I was actually thinking about you because I love what you do with this podcast. I think it's so exciting and wonderful and such a gift. And I remember lying on my couch and I remember I have this wonderful therapist that I hadn't seen in a long time, but I was like, I think I should check in because I might be losing my mind right about now. And I obviously couldn't go and see her. And so we did a Zoom visit, but I could only talk to her for about 20 minutes. And I could only talk to her with my head on the back of the couch. And I remember after that, for some reason thinking, I think I need to call I need to call Leanne because I need to like share that this is a thing. And I can't believe this is happening to me. I can't believe this is happening to so many other people. I'm part of this Facebook long haulers group. And back to your original question, evidently you're diagnosed with long COVID after you've had the symptoms for 12 weeks. And I'm 7 months.
wow.
I know.
Yeah.
Wow. And they don't have any answers as to whether this will go away, whether the boat will right itself. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, they just don't know. I mean, they really don't know. And I think like they're now giving a timeline of we were talking about this in the car, like just trying not to think about it, but like 2 years could go 2 years. And I do know a friend that was early on in the pandemic and she's had it and she's been dealing with it for 2 years.
Wow.
How bad is she?
I haven't talked to her. She's someone I work with in a little while, but it is still some of like the headaches, the fatigue, and she's doing some still of the PT and the acupuncture. Like still, this was at around April, I think, last year. Yeah, like when she said it, I was 4 or 5 months into it that I was like 2 years, like it horrified me at the thought. I'm like, I'm not going to think that. And that's just kind of how I've lived it, is you kind of think like right now, here and now.
Yeah, just be here.
Because don't know what that is. They don't really know.
No.
But they treat it symptomatically of whatever you kind of have happening. At least that's been my experience. And like chronic fatigue. That's how my doctor is kind of like, this is what we know we've done for chronic fatigue, for some of the, energy, muscle pain, focus, attention, that COVID brain. Like there's different things, medications that they will treat that with. Same with the physical therapy that he ordered, like treating that portion like it's chronic fatigue, treating some of the stomach issues like it's this other thing, that the inflammation like it's this other. So it's piecemeal of how they treat it, because they really just don't know.
Because it affects so many different parts of your body and it's different for everybody. I had COVID in December. I had a horrific headache, congestion with no runny nose, no sore throat, no fever, no body aches, totally had my sense of taste and smell, but a headache where I couldn't have a conversation just for one day though.
Yeah.
But I did not have what you have at all, but I had bowel issues and they just straightened out really in like June.
Yeah.
So for 6 months, I went to the doctor And she was like, it just affects some people's GI tract. Yeah. It affects some people's lungs. It's inflammation. It's what you're dealing with is inflammation. And until the inflammation calms itself down, I don't really know what to tell you. Mm-hmm. I was going to the bathroom 10 times before like 10 o'clock in the morning. And it was like, gotta go. It wasn't like, oh, I'm feeling like something's coming. It was like, I gotta go. And then it would get down to like 5 times. And then it was like 3 times. But until probably actually until right before we went to Wedowie, it was like 3 times in the morning before 10 o'clock in the morning urgently. But now I'm like back to my normal routine from before I had COVID, where I go to the bathroom once in the morning and I'm good.
I wonder how many people are experiencing symptoms like that are prolonged and they don't realize that it's
stemming from
COVID has woken them up.
Well,
I've had, after my first vaccine, the next day, I have some very rare something with my tooth, with a tooth. Mm-hmm. And a dentist had said years ago, just watch it. It's a very rare thing. Well, it flared up to a point that next day that I had to have a tooth extracted.
Oh my gosh.
The day after my vaccine.
Wow.
So then, when I was having a hard time breathing, I guess when the nails were yellow, and that was what was really hard, was the breathing. And I would have to walk really slowly. I still do. But I was walking really slowly. And dear sweet Parisa drove me down to Torrance. Parisa, I was her World Fair because she didn't have one this year, but I was it. If you have long COVID, then you get Parisa. And she will get those meals there. She will get you driven to Torrance. She will get you.
Gets it done.
Oh, bless her. But anyway, she drove me to Torrance to this pulmonologist. And I was just struggling walking and couldn't really get my breath. And the dear woman looked at me and said, "This is not in your head." And I just burst into tears. Aww. And she said something really interesting. She said, the men that come in here with long COVID react in a completely different way than the women. Yeah. The women come in and are like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I think I'm just da-da-da-da-da-da. And the men go in and are like, are owning it.
Yeah.
And as soon as she said that, I thought, oh my gosh. So then I worry about people that maybe are having stomach problems, that maybe don't live near specialists that can say, because that's the other weird thing is all these tests come back, you're fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a colonoscopy just coincidentally scheduled after I had COVID when I was still having this GI trouble. I went for my physical and she was like, you should have had a colonoscopy 2 years ago. We were in the middle of a pandemic. I was not going to do that.
Right.
So she was like, go now. And that's great because you're having this GI trouble. If there's anything going on, they'll find it in a colonoscopy. And when it was over, he was like, I see a little bit of inflammation. Can't really determine what it's from.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I see that you are having inflammation in your bowels, but maybe you should adjust your diet. And I went, it's not my diet. It's COVID. This started the day I got sick with this. I had, on top of the headache, I had bowel stuff. I went to the bathroom over and over again the whole time I was actually actively sick. And this part never went away. The headaches went away. Oh, and I had a floater.
Yes, that's a thing in long COVID.
Yes, that floater stayed for 3 months. Ugh. It cleared up after 3 months. And the floater didn't float. It stayed in one spot. So I had this one spot where it drove me absolutely crazy. And that showed up. The whole package started when I got sick. I, like you, started feeling symptoms on December 21st and did not test positive until the 26th.
Yeah.
And I kept testing myself. I kept going, I know I have it.
Yeah.
I know I have it. And I worked my ass off because that's Christmas, right?
Yeah,
of course.
We had 85 corporate gifts that I decided to gift wrap myself
Of course you did.
because they were tracksuits, right? That we had bought for everybody, these tracksuits. So I gift wrapped them all myself that whole week. They came a week late. They came from the Ukraine and they came a week late. And I was like, great. I guess my whole week is packing these stupid tracksuits. And so I just wore myself out that whole week because I kept testing negative.
Right.
And I was like, well, if I'm negative, I just have a cold.
Yeah.
And then once I tested positive and went in the room and closed the door and stopped moving, my symptoms exploded.
Yeah.
So they were nothing like what you're describing, but I definitely was symptomatic and definitely had those couple things that stayed with me 3 months and then 6 months.
Right.
And it's really, are you angry?
Not really. I mean, I think,
You're not angry?
no, I think I will be
angry.
I think I will be. I definitely think I will be. I think it's just, I mean, for me, I know it's like just getting through it, because if I stop to think about it and everything that I feel like, lost, well, first of all, compared to what others have gone through, so grateful. And I think that's the big thing. It's like getting through. But once it's behind me, like, yeah, I'll be really mad about a lot of things. But I think mostly just so grateful I wasn't in the hospital. So grateful that it will get better. I mean, I have to believe that. Like, I think some of these things might linger for longer than would like. Totally changed my life, for that long time. But it's starting to come out of it now. So I think I'm not angry yet.
When you get better, when you feel yourself getting better, do you allow yourself to process how bad it was? Because that's where I am. As I get better, I kind of allow myself a little bit to think. A lot of it I don't really remember. And that's really hard. That's really hard. Very emotional.
I bet it would be very scary.
It's very scary.
Yeah. It would be terrifying.
Yeah, we were just saying that word on the way over. Yeah,
terrifying.
It's scary. It is terrifying.
Yeah, it's very scary. We are very lucky. But I can tell you, I'm angry for you. I really am, because I am also grateful that you are here and that you did not have it worse.
We're so lucky.
But we can have all these feelings and still be, I can have all these feelings and still be angry. I'm really angry that you have to do that. I'm angry that anyone has to deal with it. I'm angry that anyone has died from it, and there's nothing we can do. I guess we did the best we could. I don't know. And we are where we are. All that I agree with. And I'm still fucking mad. I'm really mad. There's a lot of people who didn't need to die, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think the hard part about being doers is that there's got to be something you can do. There's got to be something I can do. I'll eat wheatgrass every day. Tell me what to do. Do I need to rub dirt on the back of my neck and dance around for an hour? I'll do it. But when there's nothing you could do, that would make me really angry.
Well, and you know what there is to do? You know what makes you better is doing nothing.
I don't know.
I'm about to. It is. That's why you call the therapist. That's why I did.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's like, I put a hammock up in my tree.
Yeah.
To force myself, because I haven't really read a book since my kids were born.
Yeah.
I don't make time for myself to do anything. That is something I've really treasured, actually, that I've gotten out of this.
Like taking that time.
I have a puzzle out now on my kitchen table because it makes me sit. It allows me to be completely still and yet use my mind. And so I kind of like that. I was missing that in my life. I think that quiet.
Right. Yeah, we don't get a lot of that.
No, we don't.
No, nobody in our circle gets any of that. And I agree. That is a good thing. If you can take a good thing from it. Yeah, that is a good thing. I know when I closed the door, I went in our guest room because you have to go through our bedroom to get to our closet. And I was like, well, Bert's here. I can't deny him all of his stuff.
Right.
I can take a little bag of stuff and be good, but he's going to be working out and doing whatever. So I stayed in the guest room. One of our good friends has COVID now and is in her master bedroom. and is feeling better. She had a rough weekend, and we go to the same trainer. And I was at the trainer today, and she was on Zoom starting to work out again. And she was like, I got so much done. I'm feeling better. I cleaned up my whole closet. I deep cleaned my bathroom. And the trainer was like, I don't think that's what you're supposed to be doing.
That's right.
You're supposed to be resting. You're going to run yourself into the ground, and it's going to take longer for you to fully recover. You need to rest. And as she said that, I went, shit, I could have done that if I'd just made Bert stay in the guest room. That's so smart. Why did I think of that? But when I did close that door, I did have a moment of saying, now this is what I'm talking about. Like, I don't have to do anything for anybody.
Right.
I don't have to figure out what's to eat. I don't have to feed a dog or a cat. I don't have to have a conversation about business. I don't have to do anything but just take care of myself. And they'll drop food at my door. And all I got to do is take care of myself. And except for that one really, really bad day where I had that really incapacitating headache, I can't say that I enjoyed it, but I made myself very aware that part of it was kind of a gift. You know, I'd spent the whole week before just pounding myself into the ground.
Right.
And then I did have that moment of saying, okay, you can give yourself permission to be sick. Because even when I'm sick, just keep moving.
Right.
Just keep moving. Someone's got to be dropped off. Someone's got to be picked up. Dog poop doesn't pick up itself, you know. Groceries don't get here on their own. Well, sort of with Instacart, but you know what I mean?
Right.
You just don't give yourself permission. I think women are wired that way in general.
Right.
Very few women can just go, I'm done, unplugged.
Right. No, we don't take that time for sure.
How has your family been affected by your long COVID? Because I know you both pretty well, and you are some badass bitches. You run everything. You run your house, you run your volunteerism, you run your job, you run everything. So how has that affected your family?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, that certainly has been the hardest part because, I know that they suffered. Like, and that really, you know, but they were great about it. Like, we couldn't do anything. Like, we didn't, you know, for a lot of months, it wasn't even really me being the driver to drive them to places. Bert picked up, you know, that on that. And he was great about that and being able to get them to and from, because I couldn't do that. Then it got to a place where, okay, I can pick them up from school on a couple of the days and being able to do that. But that took even months. So just not being able to be there for them and to be that person that we are, like getting to take them to and from and doing some of these things. So I think that was really hard. Certainly not getting to do things on the weekend. It was relying on, you know, family, friends, and then them being the ones to take them places or do something with them. And that was really hard as a person that is always wanting to do that and having to rely on others to do that and take that. That part was really hard, and just not getting to be there for them in the way that I would have wanted. I think that's, you know, is certainly that would be the hardest part about all of this, is I just know that they lost those months too of not getting to go fun little outings or go to the movies or do anything even simple. I think that was definitely the hardest part. And I will look back on that part. That's the part that, that'll be part that'll get me to tears or to, you know, anger. And I know they did. They handled it well, but I think that really was the hardest part. And coming out of it, they've been great though. They still are, you know, very cautious of it and aware, and know I'm not able to do what I was able to do, but no, we'll get back there.
Right.
And, you know, and Bert handled it really well. You know, grateful for that for sure.
Well, you're great parents. You have great kids. Do you think they were scared?
Yes, I do. I do think in the beginning, I mean, it was, I mean, I know, like, it's like that oxygen thing when your oxygen drops and you can't get from the bed to the bathroom, you know, like that is hard to be around. And I think in the beginning, they both got it too. So there was a point where it really was the three of us being sick together. So it wasn't so much that point of not needing anyone. Like when you were talking about them, like, yeah, I didn't really end up having that because to keep Bert healthy, I was the one that was probably getting more of the food for them and taking care of them during those few weeks.
Because you all had it together.
We had it together.
Yeah, and you had to keep him safe. Yeah. I get that.
So they were sick in some of those harder periods. And then as we went, like, I do think they were, but as I got better and reassuring, and you go into mom mode of it's going to be fine. And you know, so I think the reassurance, they were, I'm blanking on the word at the moment, which happens all the time still with the COVID. But just they're reassured. Like, I think, you know, I'm feeling better about it. But yeah, I do think they were scared. It'd be really hard not to when you know, you're going for all these tests and treatments and everything, and you see, you know,
mom can't get from A to B. That would be really scary. Bless their little hearts.
It was hard for me to reconcile the fact that right when COVID started and the lockdown came and it was really scary, Mike and I said, okay, how are we going to do this? What's our plan? How are we as a family going to handle this? And we decided we're going to keep it light and fun. And I joke around that everybody caught up with the Lisbys about, like, I always wear my pajamas. We never leave the house. And our favorite thing to do is take a walk. And that's it.
It worked.
Yeah.
Like,
And then everybody had COVID and was like, this is the way. And it's like, oh, you fools.
We've been doing this for
We've been doing
years.
this way.
But anyway, our thing was to be, let's just keep this fun. And Grady is a worrier. And so I spent 2 years saying, it's okay. And you know what? When we get it, we're going to be okay. And then I got it and I wasn't okay. And that's been a juggle for me. Going back to how the family has reacted, you know, we all marry our spouses for different reasons, and different strengths come out and weaknesses. And one of my ways to be in my marriage is I do everything. And it's okay, Mike. No, don't. It's okay. I got it. I like you just the way you are right there. And then this happened. And again, it's another blessing that's come out of it, is like, he just, in his own beautiful way, has just kind of taken, and in a very different way from me, in a very quiet and deliberate and unemotional way, has been taking care of us.
Right.
And it's really been something amazing to see. I also had the burden of him having open heart surgery,
Which is insane.
when I was so bad. And
That's crazy.
yeah, it was really intense. But again, another amazing thing that came out of that was this community that just showed up. I wrote a little thank you email to some people, and I started it by saying, Mike, I had been in the ICU with Mike. Mike was in there for 6 days. And I was doing the nebulizer in the back
Oh my gosh.
corner of the ICU. And I remember thinking, I cannot believe
Yeah,
this.
wrap your
I
brain
was-
around that one.
Yeah. And I got in the car, drove home, and I sat in the car, and it was the first time I had been alone and quiet, because the whole time with the COVID, when I was so bad, and then leading up to the surgery, I had to keep it together as much as I could, even though I couldn't.
Yeah.
And so then we knew he was okay. I drive home and I'm sitting in my car and I thought, okay, I can fall apart now.
Yeah.
I am here. It is 10 o'clock at night. I just took my steroids, so I have enough energy to cry. I don't have enough breath.
I'm pumped up.
And I didn't cry.
No.
And I describe it as I kind of felt like I was floating. And I then looked at it more deeply or felt it more deeply. And I realized the reason I and my whole family were floating is because of all of these beautiful, tiny little things that our community did.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was Jane Epstein made me homemade blueberry muffins like every other day and left them at my doorstep, or random Diet Cokes would be on my doorstep, or a friend, Charlie, needed white pants to be able to play in the baseball game, and it was 10 minutes before. So that dad ran and got baseball pants so Charlie could pitch. I mean, just the most extraordinary outpouring of love.
Mm-hmm.
It was really remarkable. So yeah, I probably should be more angry, but I don't know. It's also really been a beautiful blessing.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I'm just not well enough to be angry.
No, that sounds pretty amazing. I didn't know that you had long COVID, and I didn't know that Mike was having open heart surgery, or I would have left you blueberry
Well, of
muffins
course you
too.
would have, but that's the beauty of this community, right?
That's the truth.
That's the beauty.
It
That
is
it
the
just
truth.
keeps, it's just even bigger than we could ever know. And then I hate that you, Jen, have suffered with this, but you have been like such a touchstone for me.
Aww.
I mean, the fact that we could text early on and say to one another, don't text back. I know how much energy it takes to just text, but is this what you're feeling? And just to have you be able to say that, because it's a rare thing and people don't really want to talk about it, and people don't. And so you've been, I'm so grateful you had long COVID. I'm so sorry.
Right. No, totally. Well, you just feel like, you're not going crazy. Like it's like, how the doctor said, it's not in your head. You do start to feel a little like that. So it is really nice. And it's also nice to know, I think there were times like I'd be maybe, a couple weeks ahead of you. I'm like, okay, you're going to get better here. And then this would be better. Then I would have the rebounds, and I'd maybe be not text back as quick because I'm like, I don't want her to know that this is still a possibility. We're going to rebound.
And I saw you walking with your girls when I was in the car. That was the last time I saw you. And I thought, oh, she's walking.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get to walk soon.
Yep.
And you said to me, you were talking about how you're getting better and better and better. And then you said, but Paula, there's still times that I just cry. And I almost texted you, but didn't have the energy to say thank you for sharing that with me, because I probably need to do more of that, because it's really overwhelming and scary.
Yeah, it sounds both overwhelming and scary.
Because it's not quite out of our system yet.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's the not knowing. I think it was really hard to not know how far was too far. You're doing better for so long. And then you try and do something normal, like, for me, it was like, having people over on Easter and maybe making some Passover. And it set me back for, weeks and weeks, but a very normal thing that you do. Yes. So not knowing what that boundary is, can I do anything? And so you just, for me, it's just, you don't do anything. It became living a life of, I would work, and I, fortunately was able to get accommodations to work from home for the majority of it. And to a place of, okay, I can drive my kids to school, or I can maybe eventually I work to being able to go to a softball game. And that was my life. But it was okay because I had my family and, good friends that you can text and call. And that's just what you did. But then you start to add things in. You don't know what that too far is. So I think that's still where it is now. I know I can do so much more. In a much, much better place. Getting to go for walks, being able to do that stuff. Not knowing still what's too far, though. Not back 100%, not back to normal life. Don't know where it is that you can start doing that. That's the hard part. Just don't know what's pushing it too far.
So it sounds like exertion is not your friend.
Right.
So if you exert yourself past that, not knowing what's too far, then you're back to being more symptomatic.
Yeah. It brings out other things. And that's the crazy thing. I mean, like, you have one symptom. I mean, I think probably went through this, probably all did with COVID. Like you'd have one symptom and then that'd go away. And then you'd have another symptom and then that would go away. And then you have another symptom or one would come back. It's been that same way for long COVID. Most of the symptoms always there, but then doing fine. And then something else would pop out, like, rashes. Like all of a sudden I have rashes everywhere where I hadn't had that for months, but then something triggered that. So like exertion triggers other things, brings up the flare up with more of the, stomach issues. The headaches then will be back. So it brings on the other symptoms, the achiness, the difficulty sleeping, difficulty remembering, all that. So yeah, it triggers the other ones.
Difficulty sleeping is a symptom of COVID?
Having trouble, you're both tired and can sleep, but then being able to actually sleep through the night, like it would be, for me, very achy. The inflammation would flare up very hard.
I see.
I could maybe fall asleep easier, staying asleep. So something for me that made all the difference, really, it was kind of a joint thing, was being able to take a muscle relaxant, but a different one that wouldn't totally knock me out. I was very hesitant to take something that was going to make me then groggy on top of already doing that. So taking that when I would wake up in the middle of the night, and then I could sleep longer, doing that with some of the strength building physical therapy rather than just walking. Like the walking helped with building back up the lungs, but doing more like Pilates and things like that to build up the strength. The sleeping to be able to do that, and being able to do the PT that I could do, like building up the energy and strength, made a difference to take me, I think, to a little bit where I can function more. So, yeah.
Yeah, because you were in very good shape. You were very healthy. Healthy diet,
right.
Healthy exercise, good routine, very active person.
Right.
How weird is it that you exercise, like something that makes you feel better no matter what?
Right.
You couldn't do.
No.
It's off the table.
But to be in like a health, not as healthy as maybe some people, but I'm pretty darn healthy.
Yeah,
and
you
to
are.
have it take me down the way that it did. Yeah. And then to not be able to do that stuff now to try and get better was really, really hard. But yeah. Yeah.
What was your least favorite symptom? What was the hardest to deal with, or has been?
I mean, it's a couple, it's hard to choose because they're, I think, equal ones. I mean, really, like, the breathing really was the most disruptive, and that still happens. Still, every once in a while, my, pulse ox would drop a little bit, but I can manage it. But not being able to even talk, like you couldn't talk. I couldn't.
You just couldn't get enough air in to talk?
Yeah.
Wow.
So like calling my mom, calling my sister, like things that you just do to get through, stay sane, couldn't do. And even getting better, like if for work, if I talked probably more than once, I no longer had a voice and could do anything. So it wiped me out too much. So I think that was the most frustrating thing, to not be able to interact in that way for so long.
Yeah.
That took a long time. But the stomach issues have been difficult. I mean, the blessing in that is I probably lost like 15 pounds
that you did not have to lose.
No, I've gained a few back now. Like, okay, we're a good place. But like, so I think that was hard, and it still is though. Like I still have to, very simplistic foods, going out. I'm doing it and enjoying food a little bit more, but you pay a price. Still not, my stomach is still not at a healthy place.
Unfortunately, I suffered zero weight loss. I actually am convinced that COVID just took my metabolism completely out of my body, and I have no metabolic rate whatsoever because my relationship, my biological relationship and what my body does with food since I've had COVID is different.
Yeah.
The shape of my body is different. And even Bert said, wow, maybe you were in Wedowee too long. You look really different. He'd been on the road so much.
Oh, right.
He hadn't seen me, but I could tell a difference. And I was not eating like a lunatic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was eating kind of like what I was eating before. My boobs have gotten bigger over the past 6 months, where I was like, am I simultaneously going through menopause or something? But something is from the neck down is changing a lot. And I've had all this GI stuff, inflammation. I believe they're kind of connected.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And I'm angry about that.
Yeah.
I'm angry.
Right.
I didn't need a bigger back porch. My back porch was big enough. And I look at my body now and go, that's metabolism.
Yeah.
what's happening here is my metabolism is not working like it was working before. And I work out aggressively 3 days a week, and I'm active the rest of the week.
Yeah.
And my body's changed that much.
Yeah.
And I think it is about whatever was going on with COVID, partly.
Totally. I think that is a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that's been frustrating is like, because we are around the age that we are, they go, oh, well, isn't that just getting older?
Yeah.
No,
No.
it was like the memory, the metabolism, those two things were on fast forward during these 7 months. This was not just like all of a sudden age and that, and they're aligned the timeline with COVID is.
It's not I don't think it's a coincidence. Yeah. I don't either. And I thought that for a long time. You know what's really bad about the female psyche, like you were saying when she said this is not in your head? I keep thinking it's something I'm doing wrong. I must be like sneaking Twinkies and not even knowing it. I must be drinking a Coke and I don't even know it. But I'm really not.
What is that? Why do we do that to ourselves?
I don't know. It's dumb, but I do. This week we shot a TV show in here all week. And I did not do as much as I usually would do on purpose because we've hired a producer. I had 4 18-year-olds, one being Georgia, as PAs that we were paying.
Awesome.
And I was like, it's not necessary for me to run myself into the ground.
Right.
I don't need to do that. It is not necessary. I'm not going to be like I was at the World Fair where I would, pound the ground for days on end and be a puddle at the end of it. It's just not necessary. But one day in the middle of this, I was really tired. Really, really tired. Tired like I was after I had COVID. I had fatigue for several weeks too after I got well. And I just kept going, what's wrong with you? You're not even working at the speed you're used to working. What's wrong with you? And about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I thought to myself, I wonder if this has to do with I'm not sleeping well since I've had COVID. I had the bowel issues for 6 months. So I don't have the long COVID you have, but I definitely had little bits and pieces of it.
Right.
And I still from time to time get that same headache that's right here. It's just right here. I had it actually this past week. It started coming on and I was like, it's because I'm doing too much, even though I'm doing less than I would normally do. And I just couldn't recognize it. I just kept saying, what's wrong with you?
Right.
Come on. You don't need a nap. Come on. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And then at some point I went, no, you know what? Actually, you need to stop and close your eyes for like 15 minutes. That's what your body is telling you to do.
Right.
So just do it. So I did. And I didn't really feel that much better when I woke up. But I also felt like, well, at least I did that. At least I shut it down. Right. And the next day I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel fatigued at all. And nothing had changed. It was, if anything, it was one more day into this project. I should have been even that much more tired. But the body just is crazy. It's such a bizarre experience. This whole couple years, Bert came in the kitchen today, this morning, and he goes, I feel like we just really, that this pandemic has done so much more than we understand.
Oh, definitely.
We're looking at our 18-year-old about to go to college, and I think she's doing great. And Bert's worried that she just didn't get enough time in a safe place to be a teenage lunatic,
Right.
She spent 2 years in a safe place as a teenager, as opposed to 2 years out and about in the world and making mistakes and doing stupid things and coming home to mom and dad.
Exactly.
Instead of making mistakes and going home to a roommate you don't know. And
Right.
he's worried. And I'm like, I just don't think we're really going to know what this whole thing is like until we're old and gray and can look back and go, wow, that really affected a lot.
Oh, definitely. It'll be hindsight. They'll look back and look how it impacted in so many different ways.
In so many
really
ways.
Won't know.
No, we won't know. Paula, what was your least favorite symptom?
Probably the Yeah, it's exactly what Jen said, that like I'm a talker. I like to talk about emotions. That's kind of how I process, And I couldn't. Still to this day, my sister called and I was like, and my sister is very similar to me. We can't just talk like normal people. It's like very, and I'm like, I picked up and I'm like, I can't. I'll call you back.
Yeah.
So, because you can't catch your breath. I also haven't had a yawn in 7.5 months.
Really?
Can you yawn?
It's funny that you say that because I feel like all of a sudden I'm yawning a lot. Like I'm like, oh, I'm reminded how tired I am during the day, normal days. And I don't remember really feeling that as exhausted as I was. I don't remember yawning. So it's funny that you're actually saying that because I was just noticing the other day. I'm like, God, I feel like I'm really yawning a lot.
I can't
So
get
yes, I
enough air to do it. I can't get enough breath to crest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can't get enough breath to yawn. Still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, weird.
So what things did you do that helped you? Did you take any supplements? Did you do any exercises? Did you meditate? Did you levitate? Did you aggregate? Tell me, what did you do? Anything?
I did acupuncture. Mm-hmm. And I think that helped a lot. Mm-hmm. Puzzles. Letting my husband be a husband. Relora, which is a cortisol. It helps regulate cortisol in the system because evidently mine is brought. Evidently, they're finding with people with long COVID that there's an overadrenaline or there's an over of the stress hormone cortisol, and I think that might be helping.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, it's called Relora, and it helps me sleep in a more restful way, and I'm not a mess when I wake up. Yeah. And the clue to that for me was I came out of long COVID after 3 months, and I was fine. And I took my kids to Disneyland, and I got on the first roller coaster ride, and then I got off, and I was like, oh shit, here it comes. It's all coming back. Oh, no. And it's because this one doctor, one of the many, said your body, the cortisol surge came along and pushed it all into mayhem again. And your body doesn't know that you were just on a roller coaster, and so it's fine. And so that's helped, this Relora stuff.
That's interesting.
That is.
Yeah.
Now, is that the cortisol in your body is increased, right?
Yeah.
And is that from inflammation, perhaps, or
don't
just
know.
from the disease?
Because they're saying that it's like an overactive immune system.
Okay. So, yes.
Like some people that are getting long COVID have an overactive immune system, which is maybe, I don't know.
I think they don't know. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's
Exactly,
triggering
Jen.
cortisol. It's triggering a mess up of the hormones. Hormone levels are going wacky. They don't know why. It's,
And that's the strangest thing, is having something.
Wait a minute. Did you just say hormone levels are going wacky?
They're learning that some of the hormone levels are getting wacky, which is why it's triggering some of the thyroid issues. I think some of the metabolism issues, the hair loss, definitely having the hair loss, like all that stuff that, again, like coming back to like they'll say it's, more age related, like all of that, but it's the coincidence of the timeline. It's way too much to be a coincidence, and the hair loss, everything. Yeah,
I just got diagnosed with Hashimoto's.
What?
You're saying that?
What is that?
I'm unclear, really.
Unclear?
No, I'm kidding.
Wait, what is Hashimoto's?
I'm not sure, but
Do you have to eat sushi for the rest of your life?
yes, I'm going to call Sandy. It's I don't know. It's you have too many thyroid antibodies, but your thyroid is okay. And so I haven't had gluten in a week, which if you know me.
Oh, you can't have gluten?
Which I don't know. Maybe that's helping. I don't know, which goes back to your point. And that's the hardest thing of all of this.
Yeah, they treat it at each situation. They treat it as though that's what it is, but we really don't know the underlying cause of why it's happening. And well, we get better. Yeah. So yes, I think the hormone seemed to be playing into things like Hashimoto's and Graves' disease and other things that people are getting.
So Hashimoto's showed up after you had COVID?
Mm-hmm.
So, oh my God.
And it's an autoimmune disease. It's chronic. Now I'm going to have it.
Oh, Jesus.
It can go into remission, though, hopefully.
Yes, it can. That's what I hear.
That's the thing. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
Well, what are the symptoms of it?
Fatigue,
Oh.
shortness of breath.
Well, then how do they diagnose
exhaustion
it? As
from a
opposed
blood
to
test.
A blood test. Okay. So it is a definitive diagnosable issue. I see. Okay.
And evidently going off gluten can really help with Hashimoto's. So
wow.
now I'm eating sand. Oh, it's just the worst. So awful.
Well, Big Mamas and Papas makes a really good gluten-free pizza.
Do they really?
Yes.
Oh,
It's good.
It is very good. The margarita pizza is really good. I used to get it all the time when Jeannie Turbo would come over because she's gluten-free.
Yeah, I was just going to say, she probably has some good recommendations on
Oh,
places.
I didn't know she was. Okay.
Yeah, she's gluten-free, has been for a very long time.
Okay.
So for health reasons also. So
Okay.
Big Mamas and Papas, if you need a pizza, you get yourself a little gluten-free
There
on the
you go.
side, and then everybody's got their pizza.
I'm okay. Diet Coke doesn't have gluten in it.
What more do you
I'm
need?
like, whatever. Neither do McDonald's French fries. So I'm like,
Are you
Hashi,
sure?
what? Yeah, that's good.
That's interesting.
That's funny. What has helped you, Jen? Has anything in particular helped you?
Yeah, I think just really simplifying everything from the food, like just simplified food, really just non-processed, not really like, no butter or oil. Like keeping everything really simple has helped. Now like I said, adding back in a little bit more food because I do love food and I love going out. But mostly I think doing the exercise has really helped building back up and just finding that line that it's not too much. Because there was one day even in PT, they don't even know. Like it really was, they didn't know. Unfortunately, my doctor did know a little bit more for me to be able to ask and say, this is what I need. Because they approach it like you've got an injury, we're going to build you back up, work harder. And that's not the approach. One day went to someone that was not, they just had someone fill in and who had not read the record, and they definitely pushed it too far to the point of like, I was in tears and I knew this was not good and I had to stop.
Oh no.
And then was set back for a while. So it's not a work harder, build it back up. It really is really trying to just do it at a slow pace. I mean, it's kind of pathetic that I'd be in there doing the most simple things, and there's 80-year-old people surpassing me. And that part is very humbling. But knowing, okay, this is good for me.
Yeah.
I think that really did help. And the breathing, the spirometer exercises really helped to slowly build back up the lungs. So I would say those two things have been the biggest
helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just not doing anything was really, really, really hard. And just, I think I shut myself out a little bit other than the basics, not going on Facebook, not knowing what everyone else was doing, because then that would really be hard. Like, oh, I want to go out. I want to, see friends. And I didn't. So I think just closing in a little bit helped me get through it to allow me to not do too much.
Yeah. To heal.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Time.
Yeah.
Isn't that the hardest thing? Is to just give yourself the time to have what you need. It's nearly impossible to do, I find. Nearly impossible to do. I was in therapy yesterday morning, and I was saying to her how proud I was of myself this week for hiring all these people so that I could really just be part of the creative process. I go, here's a creative. Now you guys execute. Obviously Bert is the most creative piece, but I've always been part of his creative engine, right?
Absolutely.
But usually I'm part of the creative, and then I'm the boots on the ground that builds everything. And this time I didn't do that. I was so proud of myself. And I was telling her about that. I said, I don't know, maybe now that I've gotten through all that I had to get through for the year, like work-wise and trips wise. And, you know, when we get back from our family's going to Italy next week, when we get back from that,
Wow.
then I have a little time until we start gearing up. Bert's shooting his next Netflix special in November. And when like the last month before that, I travel with him quite a bit. And again, I'm that kind of creative input that helps him get it like really honed in.
Right.
So I know like October, I'm going to start getting busy again. So maybe I can give myself like 6 weeks to just be a human and not expect anything of myself except get up, brush your teeth, feed your dogs, put one foot in front of the other, work out, do your podcast, and not do anything else.
Right.
That lasted from 8 a.m.
Oh, no.
till about 11:30 yesterday.
Oh, no. Oh,
And
no.
at 11:30, my brain went, what if we do this? And I said it to Bert, and he was like, do it. Let's do it. And I'm working out this morning with my trainer, and I started laughing at myself because I gave myself like 3.5 hours. I had 3.5 hours of really buying into that idea. And I've already started another project. I cannot seem to just slow down.
Yeah.
And I wonder why. I wonder what that is, because it really was about having a creative idea. I had this creative idea at 11 o'clock yesterday before lunch. Called 2 people to see what they thought about this idea. Got the green light from those 2 people. Then told Bert about it, who massively greenlit it, and now I'm off to the races because it's a creative moment, you know. And I believe that I have lived my life clearly where that's what you do. You have a creative moment, you act on it, act on it. I don't know when I'm going to give myself that space, because once the special comes, then the holidays come, and then it's January and we're starting all over again. And I have a junior in high school who's going to be all about college stuff. And I have a freshman in college who's going to be all about moving in. You know, so like I'm like, maybe that dream of, or that vision of having that 6 weeks or however long to just be human is not realistic for who I am as a person.
Right.
But how do you, I mean, it's got to be on some level.
Can you
know?
do 2.5 hours a day?
That's so funny you say that, because 2 weeks ago I was telling my therapist how my husband was having some some routine health tests. You would have thought someone had said, I think you have a massive growth like going out here and you're probably dying. You would have thought that he was just having a physical, and we spent 5 days in turmoil about this impending doom that was this physical, that was a physical. He's healthy as a horse. You know, what do you think he's going to say to you? There's nothing wrong with you. But we spent 5 days in intense anxiety. And once it was over, he went to the appointment at the same time I had therapy. And as soon as he left to go to the appointment, I got into my therapy session on Zoom, and she was like, okay, he's going to be gone for like 3 hours. I know what you're going to do. You're going to start working as soon as we get off the phone to catch up on all those things you had to put aside to help him manage his anxiety last week. Don't do that. I want you to take 1 hour, just one of the 3, 1 hour, and leave your house. And don't go run errands. Leave your house and take a walk. Leave your house and sit in your front yard, which you don't do very often. Leave your house and go to a coffee shop. Just leave your house. So I went in my front yard, and I have that little rose garden, and I sat in my rose garden with my outdoor cat.
That's
No book.
Great.
Nothing, no phone.
Yeah.
And how was it?
It was kind of amazing. So I think I have to start doing that.
Carve a little piece out of your day for that. Yeah.
Just
Or
go
a couple times a week.
Just have to stop moving. Because as much as you don't have long COVID, you do run yourself into the ground. I mean, we all have done that. As much as we all volunteered for school.
Right.
I mean, I can do that one more thing. I can do that one more committee. I can be room mom for both kids. I can, and you know, we just don't need to do that. But it's our nature, right?
Right.
Ay, ay, ay. Well, I'm sorry you guys both had to deal with all of this. And I appreciate you talking about it openly and honestly. So, you know, my goal with my podcast is to help people. is to, if I can
Right.
experience something by hearing your experience, and maybe someone else can too, and can get some relief
Yes,
Right.
yes,
or some
yes.
learning or some, help.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think why, Paula and I enjoy getting to at least text and talk about that. Cause like if you're going through it, if any of this experience can help anyone by we
Yes.
share what we went through or what we did, or just normalize what they're going
Yes.
through or relate, then it's all we're, happy to do that.
Yeah.
Take a text, a call at any time to talk about any of this. If what we've gone through at least provides any help to anyone else, like that is, something. I feel like we-
Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Anything
Thank
else
you.
you'd like to say before we leave? Any inspiring words for someone who might be going through it?
I think it does get better. I mean, like we don't know what that end line is, but it does get better.
It
really
takes
it really
longer
does.
than you want it
Yeah.
to,
for sure.
but it gets better.
Yeah.
Well, that is the most inspiring thing ever, to know that it gets better, right? Because if you can know that it gets better, then you can hold on to your hope.
Yeah.
If it doesn't ever get better, it's very hard to hold on to hope.
Yeah,
So, and hope is, man, magic.
Yep.
It
Yep.
can be magical. So,
Yeah.
well, thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
for
guys
having
very
us.
much.
Thanks for doing this.
And always let me know if you need something.
Oh.
You know,
Thank you.
I'm happy to do.
Do. Yeah. Bye.